picks and my golf picks for the PGA Championship this week. But yeah, you and I have had some discussions the last couple of weeks. For some reason, people think Billy Napier is on the hot seat. I think that's just totally ridiculous. Does he need to have a successful year? Obviously, but he is not on the hot seat.
Of course not. And look, I mean, he hasn't produced yet. Make sure you say yet. And he's an easy target for people who want to try to fire at him and say that he's not gotten it done and he's not nearly as good as some of the other coaches that were hired last year, and et cetera, et cetera. But I think you and I both are pretty comfortable with where we stand. And I want to reemphasize the point I made last night. I don't know if it's when you were on or Franz was later, is that I guess it doesn't matter to some people, but it really matters to me that he's a really good person. That means a lot. Now, he's not perfect. He makes mistakes like we all have, but he was raised the right way by his dad, a coach, just like you were raised by your dad. He's served on the knee of some brilliant people, including, say what you would about him, Dabo was successful. Nick, obviously, he did it on his own at Louisiana. It's going to take a minute. He's asking every time. He's talked the last 18 months. He said it's going to take a while. Well, we're not very patient with take a while because what else? Instant gratification. I don't want to win now. I want to go to the portal. I want to get all the 5 stars. And by the way, Kirby got another one yesterday, the quarterback. And it's hard to keep up. And whether you call it an arms race or whatever you call it, it's really a talent race and trying to get the sufficient talent. And now, you could have all 5 stars and not have a good team. You know that. The team is the team. It certainly helps to have the quality of players. And you even talked about the front 7, how you think they haven't been very good in recent years, and you're correct. They haven't been. Now, will that be flipped? Maybe. Not overnight. But they've got a lot of recruits coming in here. The people I know in recruiting, and I don't know anything about it, tell me that the June bloom is coming. And there's so many terrific players coming in June for 24, that these guys, if they get just some of them, they'll be really, really knocking them dead. So this is what I'm told by people who follow recruiting, that just hang on, it's coming. And I think that's fair. But you've been bolder than that, Shane. You already got a number in mind about how many games you think you're going to win next year.
Yeah, I'm sticking with 8, minimum of 8 for sure. I think it's going to be a much, much better football team overall. And I could be 100% wrong, but I firmly believe in all my heart, and I'm not speaking with orange and blue glasses because I try to call it as it is. I think they win 8 minimum. Buddy, we got a text on the Titan Mark text line from Tony. He says, buddy, I don't know if you've ever answered this or not, but I've watched your program for many, many years, read a lot of Gator bait. But who is the best player in any sport for the Gators that you have covered?
Well, that best covers a lot of territory in a lot of years. It's very hard to do that, as you know. Now, obviously, we can throw out the obvious names of Percy Harvin, Tim Tebow, et cetera, et cetera. I got to go back a little ways. There's some other pretty good ones. I watched Coach Spurrier as a player. And I got to say that people who watched him play, even as a young men, some of his former teammates and some of his players say that Spurrier was a better player than he was a coach, if you can believe that, okay? I've seen him do a lot of remarkable things. And let me just say this about Spurrier. And I have to go with him because of what he has done for the university. As a player, what if he hadn't come down here to visit Ray Graves? And he took a bunch of visits, by the way. He was getting those free meals. He took like 8 visits, offered basketball scholarship to Tennessee. And the thing about Spurrier that I really loved about him was he was smart. He made the game fun, Shane. He made the game fun for the media, for the players, for everybody. He wasn't perfect. He would sometimes go off on the writers or whatever, but he made the game fun, and he did it on the field, and he made some remarkable plays, which is why he won the Heisman. It was more than just that one kick, by the way. Don't get deluded into thinking that. And then he came back at a time. Remember this, Shane. Florida football was at a real all-time low when Spurrier came in 1990. Almost got the death penalty. Almost had the death penalty. Almost just became SMU and barely got saved. And he came in and told him what he's going to do, and he did it. So whatever you want to say about all-time best, that qualifies to me as all-time best. I got to go with Spurrier.
Well, yeah, I mean, I hadn't been around the program or the school that long, but he's the greatest Gator. I just I wonder, buddy, let me ask you this: do you think he was a better player or a better coach?
That's a great question, and one we should probably. I mean, Marvin Greer thinks he was a great player. I would say coach. But remember when he did it, Shane, just like when you did what you did in 1990, why it was so significant. When you starved for some kind of championship for 90 years and you finally get it, you never forget that as a fan. And so I would say, given that he won all those SECs and then what he did at South Carolina, I'd have to go with coach, but he was a great player too. Don't forget that.
Yeah, I would lean towards coaching because I never got to see him play. So,
yeah, well, what he did, Shane, was he had a knack for coming back in the fourth quarter. That was his ticket. He would bring teams back. I mean, they were actually – my friend saw a fight between a man and a wife one day because she was a Miami fan, he was a Gator fan, and Miami came back and scored, and they almost got a divorce right there in the stadium over that whole deal. But he had a knack for coming back in the fourth quarter, and that's his personality.
Cliff says on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, if you look at what Coach Spurrier has done as a player, coach, and ambassador for UF, there's no question he's the greatest Gator of all time. Yeah, it's a no-brainer there.
Yeah.
Buddy, switch gears to baseball. Big weekend, sweeping Vanderbilt. We talked about it with Scott Carter yesterday on my program. Team obviously is peaking right now, but they have to head to Lexington to face Kentucky, who plays really well at home, and then we go to the SEC tournament. But you got to like the way that they played against Vanderbilt. I mean, it was total domination.
You got to love it. It's one of the great series in Gator baseball. Remember now, I'm an old baseball guy. I got my Letterman's card over there. I got one. It was a freshman letter, but I got one. So I know go back on baseball a little bit too. But what a stellar job. And by the way, your next guest, give him props. He told me this a couple of weeks ago when I said, looking like the Gators are in trouble. Hopefully they'll get to the championship or World Series. He said, they're going to be fine. All I got to do is do this, and go home and sweep Vanderbilt. Sweep Vanderbilt? What do you mean sweep Vanderbilt, Franz Beard? Well, they did sweep Vanderbilt, and he wrote a really nice story about it. He called the shot on it. And can I just say a word about Cade Curlin? I mean, how do you get a kid like that out of high school? And he sets a record for home runs by a second baseman in Florida as a not even out of high school, basically. Should be going to his prom and graduation and all that. And they hit another one the other day. He is phenomenal. He was co-SEC player of the week, I think. So kudos to Cade Curlin. He'll be here hopefully, he'll be here 2 more years for sure. So what a gift that's been. And the way they played and the way Caglione pitched all of a sudden, like Franz said, he went 6 2/3, and he looked like he's getting stronger and stronger at the perfect time. And that's what it is, isn't it, Shane? You got to do it at the right time.
Yes, for sure. And it looks like they're hitting their stride going into postseason, which will be very, very good. Andy says here on Facebook Live, brought to you by Melton Law, Shane, you talked in the past about seeing Rex throw for the first time and knowing that he was the guy. When you see Mertz throw, will you have a better idea what the Gators can do, or is the running game so good it doesn't matter? Yeah, I've not seen him throw in person, but what I've seen on tape, his delivery, everything is fine. Like I said, I think the offense will be just fine, and the defense will be improved. Ruse Ogre State Farm Office is a team of dedicated insurance professionals ready to help life go right with the right insurance options for you and your family. Visit ogreinsurance.com. Give them a call at 352-240-1779. Speaking with Buddy Martin on the Titan MR Hotline, we'll have Franz Beard from Gator Bait as well. Second portion of today's program. Send me your texts and questions for Franz. Buddy, we got the PGA Championship. It's a major. It's usually the so-called easiest of the 4 majors. I mean, none of them are easy, but seems like they set it up a little bit easier. I hope they didn't, but they're playing up in New York. You've covered a lot of these. Who are you picking to win?
Well, they're playing Oak Hill. It's a pretty famous golf course in Rochester, and it's been redone. It's a Donald Ross course, lots of traps and bunkers. It's where Lee Trevino won, and they've had an Open there. They've had a lot of great events there. Ryder Cup, U.S. Amateur. PGA, it's out of rhythm a little bit because it's the second major now. And remember, it's almost always been the last event. It used to precede our tournament at the International. Ours was right after that. PGA now is, I think, going to be a better event because of where it's being held. Now, this is the time we'd be talking about the Players' Championship ordinarily, but it's now going back to its original time in March. I'm so grateful for that. This could be a really good event. I will say, I think that I think we'll see some new names here and there. I'm going to give you, I got it down to 4. It's the best I can do. Okay. And the best I can do is this. I always go with John Rahm when he's hot like he is right now. I mean, he's the best player out there right now. I love Justin Thomas. He is the defending champion of the PGA from last year. And I'm going to give you 2 more names, one obvious, one not. I'm obligated contractually to always pick Jordan Spieth. My wife insists on that. And whenever she's not playing in the tournament, we turn on the golf and she'll say, "There's nobody playing." I said, "What do you mean you got there's nobody playing?" "Oh, Jordan's not playing." I get it. But this is kind of golf course with Spieth, who's very good in out the bunkers, by the way. Could, if he makes some putts, could be there. But here's the long shot. The guy, not even a long shot. This guy's been playing unbelievable in the short game. Tom Kim. He has been amazing. So those are
Tom Kim is only 20 years old. You know that,
I know.
buddy?
I know he is.
He's one of my favorites. Tom Kim. His real name is, I can't even pronounce it, but he goes by Tom Kim.
I like Tom Kim.
Love him. Yeah, he's a character too. My 3 picks, all somewhat dark horses. I'm going with Terrell Hatton.
Yeah, there's an off-the-wall pick. Oh, yep, I like those 2 guys. Yeah, I don't like Terrell Hatton. I don't like him as a person. But anyway, that's another story. Yeah, Matthew.
Oh, really? Well, he throws some fits and tempers.
Yeah, he does. I like
the golf course.
Yeah.
And then I'm taking Sungjae Im.
Sungjae Im, look at you. Now you're going way off
South Korean. Yeah, I love the South Korean golfers. Tom Kim is usually my guy. You took him, so I'll go with Sungjae Im for sure.
Okay.
We'll see what happens.
Yeah.
We got a text on the Titanmar text line from Chris in Cottondale. Buddy, you know where Cottondale is?
I thought I knew every city in Florida, but I think it's Northwest Florida, isn't it?
I think it's up in the Panhandle somewhere.
Yeah.
He says, I can finally agree with Buddy on something. Not sure if he was the greatest player, but as you said, Shane, he's the greatest Gator of all time, referring to Coach Burt. He said, glad Buddy is pumping a little sunshine this morning. But are you usually Debbie Downer? Is that what you're saying?
I don't know how I've got this reputation. I was called a sunshine pumper for 3 years. And all I did was try to be a little bit realistic about it. And and I know why, because look, when you go through something like we all went through with Dan Mullen, you get your heart broken. I mean, really, we thought we had the guy. We all thought that. And even Spurrier thought he was the guy. And I hate to say it this way, he basically quit on his team. That's what he did. And so I'm thinking, I ain't doing this no more. I ain't falling in love on the first date. Show me something. Well, 6 and 7 wasn't exactly setting it on fire, but his methodology, how he's planned it out, I always like to say he likes to cook slow roaster. He cooks a pig 8-10 hours, whatever. He takes his time. So yeah, I mean, I hope I'm not Debbie Downer. I try to be realistic, but in between that, Shane, you're not all sunshine and roses yourself, pal. You said some things about the team and players in the front 7. We have to be honest, don't we?
Yep. You got to go with what your gut feeling and your opinion. So Joseph says, I like this new Buddy way more than Fairy Tale Buddy. They're all over you today, buddy.
Fairy tale? What's fairy tale?
I have no idea.
You're really on me. Why your listeners so mean to me? I'm a nice guy.
Yes, they're all after you today.
You know what? You know what? Bring it. I can handle it. Bring it on. And come back tonight at 9:00, and I want some of you. Come on back.
Frank and Marietta on the Titan MR text line wants to know, buddy, your thoughts on Xavier Henderson going to Cincinnati.
I don't understand that one. I don't know enough about it, and I'm a little confused why he suddenly left. Apparently, he didn't get the right message from Billy Gonzalez. I don't know that. I don't know that. I'm just saying something went, because it changed from being one of the guys that they were going to count on next year, going to catch some balls, and suddenly he's going to Cincinnati. Well, it could be more to it. I don't know if it's great. I don't know. I hate to speculate, but I'm how do I feel about it? I'm disappointed.
Yeah, I don't know anything about it. I haven't asked anyone about it. The only thing I can think of is you got a new coaching staff, obviously, that came in last year that had nothing to do with recruiting Xavier Henderson. We know he was highly touted. I think it came down to Florida and Clemson. Then you bring in a new receiver coach as well. So now he's had multiple receiver coaches,
but he's not new to him. He's played for him.
Xavier played for Billy Gonzalez?
I believe so. 2 years ago, didn't he? 3 years ago?
Yeah,
maybe I'm wrong.
You may be right. I'm wrong. No, you're probably right.
Ask Dan Bond to look it up. Dan Bond will know.
Yeah, Dan Bond's your Gator encyclopedia. Yeah. He knows all the answers.
Yeah.
But I think they're really high on these young guys, buddy.
I think you're right.
Like them a lot.
Yeah.
So,
I agree.
Well, he's going to go catch balls from Emory Jones. Emory's going to his third school. He'll be, I assume he's.
I didn't know Emory was going to Cincinnati. That's news to me. Okay.
Yeah,
that makes a little sense. There. Yeah, that makes sense.
I don't even know who Cincinnati's coach is right now. Cliff says Cottondale is a small town about 10 miles west of his hometown of Marianna, between Marianna and Neil Anderson's hometown of Grace.
Okay. I thought there was a place called Cotton up there too. I had a big brother in my fraternity who was from up there in a place called Cotton something, and the Fidel House. I thought it was Cotton. Maybe that's what I'm thinking of. That's the one I'm thinking of. Cottondale. Nice little name for a town, Cottondale.
Yes, it sounds like it should be in Mississippi. Andy says Cottondale's a population of about 900 folks.
Wow.
And, we got all kinds of people letting us know.
I tell you, they know their stuff. Your listeners and mine know their stuff. They do. Cottondale. Isn't that like an Easter song? Here comes Peter Cottontail. No, that's different. I'm sorry.
That's a little different. Different. All right, buddy. Who's on your program tonight?
David Whitley and Coach Lauren Meadows. You got trivia live from Spurrier's Gridiron Grill. And David Whitley has always got something whimsical. He'll have something funny to talk about tonight. And we'll be joining you the usual time. If we survive everything this morning, getting through our procedures, we're going to be good. It's minor. You have a good night. Be sure you tell Franz congratulations for calling the shot on the baseball team, because he deserves it. By the way, he writes pretty well too, if I may say. If you want to join Gator Bait, check him out.
There you go. All right, that's Buddy Martin. Join us on the Titan MR hotline. We're going to take a quick time out. When we come back, we'll be joined by Franz Beard. Talking a lot of Gator sports. You're watching and listening to PodUp with Matthews in the morning from the Crime Prevention Security System Studios. We'll be right back.
We want to take this moment to thank our sponsors who keep the show going and pay the bills. Our premium sponsors are Crime Prevention Security Systems, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Titan MRI, Gainesville's only locally owned and operated MRI facility. Meldon Law, the only official injury and accident law attorneys of the Florida Gators. Peaceland Dental, Gator Nation's first choice for dentistry in Port Charlotte. Comfort Temp, comfort is our business, peace of mind is our promise.
Campus USA Credit Union.
QC Kinetics, live pain-free with QC Kinetics. Dave & Buster's, eat, drink, play, and watch. Our gridiron sponsors are Auto ER, UF Bookstores, Celebration Point Town Center, Chris Doring Mortgage, Silverback Concrete Co., Ruse Ogre State Farm Insurance, Doreen Wibby, Realtor Caldwell Banker, MM Parish. Our touchdown sponsors are Adams Ribs, Gator Dominoes, Celebrate Primary Care, Gator Bait Media, Okido America, Style Cuts, Ironwood Golf Course, Big Mills Cheesesteak, McDonald's of Gainesville, 84 Lumber, Tropical Smoothie Cafe, Aver and Smith, Dowling Signs, Baker's Sporting Goods, Silver Cube Billiards and Sports Bar. If you're interested in promoting your business on the show, call Freddie at 352-284-3733. If you like what we're doing here, make sure to follow us and support the businesses that support us.
There are a few tickets left for Gainesville's best pig roast and special whiskey debut. Sunday, May 21st from 2 to 5 p.m., Spurrier's Gridiron Grill is roasting a whole pig and sipping Piggyback Rye Whiskey. Join us at Vicer's Rooftop for the release of Spurrier's Piggyback Rye's private labeled barrel select whiskey. We'll have specialty drinks, games, raffles, plus each ticket includes your own bottle of Spurrier's Piggyback Rye Whiskey to take home. Go to Spurriers.com to get your ticket to join 125 of your friends at the Rooftop Pig Roast before we sell out.
Pro football legend Emmitt Smith understands your joint pain.
It does not surprise me that there are a ton of people out there that's in pain.
That's why Emmitt is such a proponent of QC Kinetics, offering real lasting joint pain relief with non-surgical, all-natural biologic treatments.
Whether it's a joint pain, ankle pain, shoulder pain, neck pain, back pain, hip pain, any kind of pain, the body eventually will break down when it's under that much stress.
That stress can cloud your judgment to the point that you'll just say yes to the scalpel or yes to another prescription of pain pills. But maybe it's time for a second opinion from QC Kinetics.
The reason why I would recommend this is because the natural biologics that QC Kinetics is providing you gives your body a chance to naturally heal itself.
Restorative, regenerative solutions are here. Get lasting relief and live your life.
Call QC Kinetics 352-400-4550. That's 352-400-4550. QC Kinetics 352-400-4550.
Welcome back to the Crime Prevention Security System Studios, large enough to serve you, small enough to care. Celebration points where the Gators go to celebrate, with premium brands like Regal Cinemas, The Keys, Dave & Buster's, Palmetto Moon, Starbucks, Pfizer's Rooftop, and the HBC's restaurant, Burgers Gridiron Grill, the #1 celebrity polished casual restaurant in America. We will see you at Celebration Point, where the Gators go to celebrate. I want to thank Buddy Martin for joining our program. We'll be joined here shortly by Franz Beard from Gator Bait. This Day in Sports, which is brought to you by our good friends at Campus USA Credit Union. Put some star power to work in your financial life with Campus USA Credit Union. In 1985, some guy named Michael Jordan was named the NBA Rookie of the Year. So, there you have it. That's This Day in Sports, brought to you by Campus USA Credit Union. All right, we got Franz, I think, in the waiting room, and he should be ready to roll in our program right now. Franz, are you there? Can you hear us? Just let us know whenever you're joining us, Franz. If you miss it tonight, Game 1 of the Western Conference Finals between the Lakers and the Nuggets start tonight, and the Stars won Game 7 last night against the Seattle Kraken. Let's see. Franz, are you there?
Yes, I am.
There he is, Franz Beard from Gator Bait, the one, the only. Franz, before we get talking some Gator stuff, I briefly went through Twitter last night before I fell asleep, and I haven't really followed. What's going on with the ACC?
Well, the ACC's got a revolt on its hands, but there's a big question, Shane. Who really, these guys are saying, well, we want to leave. Well, guess what? Where are you going to go? Who's going to take you? Mm-hmm. It's a really big deal. There's a $120 million exit fee for every school in the ACC. If they want to break the contract, that's what it's going to cost them. Now, here's their media rights deal. It's so pathetic that in 2029, they will be making $55 million, which is less than what the SEC is paying right now in 2023. So, meanwhile, the SEC is projected to be at $105 million, but they're saying that this is probably a conservative estimate. It may be $120 million per team in the SEC, because that's going to be the value brought to the table by Texas and Oklahoma joining. You're going to have a perfect storm of 16 teams. Think about this, the scheduling. 3 permanent teams, and then you're going to play every single team in the league home and home every 4 years. It is the perfect storm. Sankey does not want to expand. I've had conversations with Greg. He does not want to expand. He thinks 16 is perfect, and he's right. It is. So Florida State and Miami, where are they going to go? They're not going to go to the SEC. The SEC doesn't want them. The only school the SEC might really ever think about wanting is Clemson. And Clemson, as you know, Shane, Clemson's really an SEC school already. They've just been stuck in that league. But the ACC's got problems, and they've got a bad media rights deal that's locked in until 2036. That's not going to pay people. And they're looking at the SEC. Michael Alford, who's the AD at Florida State, about 3 or 4 months ago said, hey, we got to have more money or we can't compete. Well, guess what? Welcome to the world, because that's the way it's going to be.
So what do you think is going to happen?
Nothing. I don't think they've. I think they've hired all these lawyers, and if anybody had a way out, we'd know it by now. They don't have a way out.
Yeah.
What you're gonna see though is you're going to see the Big Ten is going to expand. They're going to take the 4 northern schools. Now, I will tell you something that could happen though. The Big Ten could, and emphasis on this, could, if they decide to go to 24 teams, which a lot of people are saying they could do. The SEC is going to stay at 16. You can count on that. But if they decided to go to 24 teams, they would add North Carolina, North Carolina State, Virginia, Virginia Tech, and the 4 northern schools in the from the Pac-12. Pac-12 is going to be gone because the southern schools are already talking with Brett Yormark, who is their commissioner, and saying, hey, we're ready to come on board. So you're going to get Utah, Colorado, Arizona State coming into the Big 12. It's going to be a convoluted mess.
Yes, it is for sure. All right, friends, let's talk a little Gator baseball. Before we do that, if you missed it, Gator golf team is up in Michigan. They're like 7th right now. Need to be in the top 5 to advance. But boy, the Georgia Bulldogs really put it on everybody yesterday, shooting 18 under par, which is unheard of. So they lead it out there right now. Baseball with a big win over Vanderbilt. Buddy wanted me to give you a lot of props. You said the Gator baseball team wasn't dead. Played really well this past weekend. Do you think they can carry it over to Kentucky?
They have to, but it's going to be a very tough place. Kentucky's 23-4 at home, Shane. They're a whole different animal at home. And, you played football up there. You know how, and you played in November. You know how absolutely crappy the weather can be up there. Well, the weather can be pretty crappy up there in May, too. And it depends on, Florida could go up there and be playing one of these games where you got everybody with the parkas on in the dugout in the middle of May. That could happen. I haven't seen the forecast yet, but it could. And it's a place where if the wind comes blowing into your face a lot of the time, so the ball will hang up and won't go places. They have a funky team. They run the bases well. They steal a lot of bases and stuff like that. Totally different animal. Florida is going to have to play its best defensive series of the entire season at Kentucky. But here's the deal. Okay, there's only one team in the SEC that controls its destiny, and that's Arkansas. Arkansas is the only team that can get to 22 wins. All right. They go 3-0 at Vanderbilt. They win the SEC outright. Florida is the only team in the SEC that can get to 21 wins. Sweep of Kentucky and Florida's at 21 wins, which means that if Arkansas loses a game, Florida could be tied for the SEC. Arkansas loses 2 games, Florida wins 3. Florida is the SEC champ. Pretty simple like that. Now, there's a backdoor thing, though. LSU did not play full schedule when it was at South Carolina. The third game got rained out. So LSU sitting there at 17-9 while everybody else has played 27 games. South Carolina's only played 26 also. LSU, let's say they go in and sweep Georgia and they're at 20-9. Let's say Arkansas gets swept. Let's say Florida only wins 1 out of 3. If LSU could come in at 20-9 and be the SEC champion. Florida could win 2 out of 3, be at 20-10. But if LSU is 20-9, they win the SEC. So it's if it sounds complicated, it is. If it sounds like a wild, wild west finish, that's what it really is.
Yeah, it is. Between baseball, all these spring sports, it sometimes gets confusing to me. I guess it just depends on if you win the regular season or the tournament, how you declare yourself the champ of the league. You know what I'm saying? So, obviously, to me, the regular season means more than the tournament, but both teams, they end up getting rings and on watches and all that stuff for winning the conference. We got a text on the Titan Mark text line from Walker. He says, Franz, what can you tell us about the new offensive lineman that we got from FIU? Will he help us this year?
Yeah, he's going to help because he's a guy that has 25 career starts. That's the biggest thing you look for, Shane. Is people are saying, well, he's from FIU. Or, I don't care if he's from Western Walla Walla. If he's got
Correct.
starting experience, that's a plus. And this is the one thing they've got. They got a lot of good young offensive linemen, like this kid, Najee Harris, et cetera, like this. But all of a sudden you bring in this extra guy, because let's face it, you don't know if Cameron Waits is going to be able to come back from that Achilles on time. You don't know if Micah Mazuka is going to be able to play before, say, October. So you better have that extra guy who's got some experience. And this is what he has. I thought this was a really good pickup. I looked at Pro Football Focus. He's only in 4 years at FIU, Shane, he's only given up 5 sacks. That's pretty darn good if you ask me.
Yeah, I agree. It's funny how you just mentioned how, you have people that say to you, Franz, well, he's from FIU. But then I was talking about it yesterday on yesterday's program. There were so many Gator fans upset that we lost a guy from Rhode Island.
Yeah.
Didn't the kid from Rhode Island go to Notre Dame?
Yeah, exactly. He's a good player, but here's what I think. I think Florida is going to get the safety that's from Louisiana, Pettisclo. I think that's how you pronounce his name. It's one of these Bayou names, and I've never been quite good at it. All I know is that Cleaux means Clo, okay, not Cleaux. But he's a 5'9", 196-pound guy. That was one of the first guys Billy signed at Louisiana. He had one other scholarship offer. That was to go to Army. He was all set to take that when Billy came along, offered him a scholarship, and he ends up at Louisiana. And he's had a very productive career. But the biggest thing I like about him is he will strike people. And I think, you're a quarterback. You've been around receivers all your life. What do they fear the most? They fear that safety that's going to come out of nowhere and just blindside them and clobber them. And this is the kind of guy that does that.
Yeah. So, Franz, for our listeners and myself, when does this transfer portal window close?
Well, if you're already in the portal, you can basically, you've got until, let's see, they're in a dead period now, and you've got basically till June 1st. And that is, if you were already in it, you can transfer and not have to sit out without petitioning. But Shane, let's be real. I mean, how many guys have you seen the NCAA deny a transfer? A kid who petitions and denies a transfer. I mean, they're letting kids go because mama's got a hangnail and they got to get close to mama in case when she goes to get her pedicure, in case she gets a drop of blood. It's that silly. Of course, you don't want to get me going off on the NCAA because we hadn't got enough time or enough hours on the podcast to do that. But I just believe that they've outlived their usefulness, and I think it's time to secede and have a separate football organization, because I cannot see the NCAA effectively doing anything. They screwed up the transfer portal. They've screwed up NIL. They've screwed up basically everything, and I can't see them figuring out how to do it right now. But that's another story.
Yeah. So you think the kid from Louisiana, the safety, will end up being a Gator?
Yeah.
Any of your sources out there tell you anybody else that the Gators may bring in that can help this squad before they go to camp?
There is a wide receiver out there that his name escapes me at the moment, but from Michigan State. And I am hearing some positive things that he has made contact with Florida. Florida's made contact with him, and that he will be on the visit list. Personally, I think he's going to wind up at Auburn with Peyton Thorne, but Florida is in on him and making a really good effort for him. I understand there's also a D1AA wide receiver that's been very productive. I'm waiting on somebody to give me a name on him, but they say that Florida's kind of honed in on him. So I'm hoping that my people know what they're talking about. And realistically speaking, Shane, we got 2 scholarships left. Okay. And actually 3, because I think I was counting the safety coming from Louisiana. I was already counting him, but I think they're going to get a quarterback. I know they're going to get a quarterback. I think
out of the portal.
Yeah. I think
Really?
I think Ty Keys out of Southern Miss is the guy that's going to be here. He's a guy that has had 2 productive seasons at Southern Miss. He wants to. He's in the portal. Wants to leave. He's a guy that he's from the state of Mississippi. Billy recruited him very, very hard, and at Louisiana, he wound up at Southern Miss. Now he wants to leave Southern Miss. I think he winds up here. One of the reasons I think he winds up here is because where is Austin Armstrong from? Which school did he come from before his short little stint at Alabama? Southern Miss.
Southern Miss.
Yeah, that's why I think Ty Keys.
What's his last name? Keys?
Keyes. Keys. Ty Keys.
Keyes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Ty, T-Y, like T-Y-E
Yep.
or T-Y?
T-Y. Yeah, T-Y.
Okay. I've not heard of this.
Hang on a second. I'll have some stats for you and just on him.
That's good information.
Just 1 second. Here we are. Passing. Ty Keys. He's a freshman and was 10 for 17 for 281 yards, 3 touchdowns. He runs very, very well. He also was there in 2021. He's a sophomore. In 2021, he was 33 for 65, but that was as a true freshman. This past year, he got injured, so he was 10 for 17 for 281 yards. I look at that 16.5 yards per attempt. I like that. I really do. And then he ran 13 times for 60 yards. So he's got some mobility. He's 6'2", 215 pounds, good sized kid. That's the kid I think that comes here. Now, there is one other kid that I think is probably going to be on the list, and he's formerly from high school ball, played at Sethner Christian, and he's from Lake Wales. Now, who do we know that was at Lake Wales? Which defensive lineman that just got drafted, that it was a pretty good ball?
Dexter.
Yep.
Dexter.
Yep. And Walter Clayton, who we just signed. Walter Clayton is also out of where? Lake Wales. These guys are all buddies. I think that's the other guy that we could get. He's I'll get his name just is. I just got so many. I've had so much stuff coming at me right and left, and keeping up with all the names has been just a problem. But this kid went up to Army, and he's a drop back passer. He's not that big. He's 6'1" and 198 pounds. So he's not that big, but he goes up there to Army where they run the option. And after a couple of years, he decided, well, gee, I'm not an option quarterback. No kidding. So anyway, he's out. He wants to leave. His name, my mind is just going crazy here trying to remember his name. But anyway, he's a kid to watch too. I'll get his name and I'll text him to you a little bit later when it comes to me. You know, it's called getting old, Shane, and it's not for sissies. Trust me.
No, I hear you. So we got a text here from Wally. Wally says, Franz, I want your thoughts on the Gator win total. Shane is set at the Gators winning a minimum of 8 games. What do you think?
I think 8's realistic. Shane, I think they could be vastly improved and still only win 7 games. And that's just the nature of the beast is that, you know, I'll give you a great example. Back in 1992, we had this quarterback here named Matthews. He's pretty darn good, if you ask me. And, you know, this is a team that had to start freshman tackles, you know, and protection for the first 6 games of that season. I think the Matthews kid was running for his life a lot. But you take what happened in the second half of that season, and Florida became a very, very good team. So they were 9-4 after a team that had won 11 games the year before. But they were a very improved 9-4. If you look at the first half of that season, and then you look at the second half of the season, and it's like 2 different ball clubs. And I think that's kind of what we could have with this Florida team this year, is a team that maybe will struggle a bit early on and everybody's going to be down on them. But I think if you look at what's going to happen in the weeks afterward, and let's say once you get past October, I think you're going to be looking at a Florida team that nobody really wants to play. And I think that's going to be the case.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'm set at 8 games minimum. We'll see what happens. All right, before we get you out of here, Franz, basketball's picked up a couple of big commitments. Not that, you know, nothing matters until they sign on the dotted line. But what do you think about what Todd Golden has done so far?
I like what he's done. I like what he's done in the portal. He's brought in the right kind of guys. The kid, Isaiah Brown, who's a 6'4" shooting guard who comes out of Orlando Christian Prep. I broadcast down at the Villages every year. And when they have a big tournament down there, and I've had this kid twice when he was in, and I promise you, he can play. There's a difference, as you know, between a shooter and a scorer. This is a kid who is a scorer. And scorers, I say that because you find kids, and what do? They get out there and they are good. They will find a way to get the ball in the basket, okay? It may be today I'm going to get fouled a lot, and I'm going to find a way to get to the foul line and shoot and score that way. Next day I might be required to shoot shots from the outside. I maybe have to be the 3-point guy, but he will figure out what he has to do to score. This is a big time pickup for the next year. I'm a little bit disappointed. They lost Deaton Thomas. I thought Deaton Thomas was going to be a lock for here, but there was a lot of pressure for Deaton Thomas to stay home. That's what he did. He stayed at Las Vegas, even though he had great relationships for a long time with several members of the coaching staff here, including Torian Green. And Torian's dad had played college basketball there at UNLV with him. So anyway, this is one of these situations where we lost a good one, but a lot of people are saying, oh my gosh, we're losing these guys. We are in the hunt for them, and we weren't in the hunt before. This is the thing that you look at as the progress. Recruiting, as you know, Shane, because came out of a great school at Pascagoula, where you had a lot of really great players on your team. If I remember right, you had a receiver named Kez McCorvey who was pretty good, and a couple others. They're pretty good back. Buckley. I think Buckley was one of your best buddies coming out of high school. But you were at a high-profile school. A lot of people knew who you were, everything like that. You won championships, etc. And the key in recruiting is this. Some people, you just can't go in there and say, hey, I'm from so-and-so, come play for me. Doesn't work like that. You get guys that you have to build those relationships. And when you get in that cycle where all of a sudden we are in the hunt, sooner or later you get those breakthroughs. And I think that's what we're looking at with Todd Golden, is he's starting to get those breakthroughs. At least they are in the hunt. If things will change, he's going to get it done here. I'm very, very optimistic about this head coach. And I'll tell you something, Shane, if you told me buy or sell with Todd Golden, and let's say he was stock, I'd say buy all day long.
Buy.
He's going to get the job done.
All right, we got one good text here for you before we get you out of here from Barbara on the Titanamore text line. She says, Franz, please tell me what the strength of this year's football team will be and what young player will make the biggest impact in your opinion.
Well, I can tell you right now, the strength of this team is going to be the offensive line. That offensive line is going to be good. Rob Sale, Darnell Stapleton, I hope we can keep the two of them together for a while, because as a combination, they're extraordinarily good. But that offensive line is going to be good, particularly if Mazuka recovers quickly from his labrum surgery. If he were a tackle, Shane, I'd feel a lot more hesitant to say anything, because as a tackle, you got to get those arms extended out wide to each side, etc., like that. As a guard, it's more of a straight ahead push, which means he can recover faster from a labrum surgery with that straight ahead push, instead of having to get those arms out wide like you do as a tackle. I think that offensive line is going to be that good, and therefore we are going to run the ball, and we are going to play defense with our offense by holding the ball. Young player that's going to be really, really good. His name is Trayon Webb. He's D. Webb's nephew. He's a running back. He is 6'2". He's 215, 218 pounds, and he runs downhill. I tell you who he reminds me of when I watch him run. Guy that you played with, who I thought was pretty good, named Eric Rett. I think
he was pretty good.
I think he runs an awful lot like Eric Rett. Somebody asked me recently, Shane, they said, who is the best running back you saw at Florida ever on 3rd and 1? And I without hesitation, I said Eric Rett. I don't ever recall Eric Rett getting stuffed on 3rd and 1 or 4th and 1 or 4th and 2. He may have, but I just don't remember it. If he did get stuffed 1 or 2 times, I can tell you this much: it wasn't very often. He could really. He was
He was tough. There's no question about it. He was a tough dude. So the Webb kid is that big? He's 6'2", 215?
Yeah, he is.
Wow, I didn't realize that. All right, Franz, great stuff as always. Let everybody know how they can read all the stuff you write for Gatorbait.
I'm at gatorbait.com. Just I do this column called Thoughts of the Day that just basically is whatever. It's Gator centric, but you have a lot of stuff in there that's whatever I'm thinking about at the moment. And what did they say when Michael Jackson's hair caught fire? Mind is a terrible thing to baste. Well, mine is kind of like that, and my mind just goes all over the place. And I write a lot of stuff, and you're going to see my opinions in there. You may not agree with them, but they are my opinions, and I think they're relevant. These days at times, we need people. We need new opinions. I think college sports has gotten stale. And one of the reasons I think college sports has gotten stale is we got too many people doing the same old thing. And we need different opinions out there. We need people talking about it and taking us in new directions.
Last thing just popped in my head. Can the Gator softball team get out of Palo Alto? Can they beat Stanford and those teams out there?
They can beat Stanford and those teams out there. They can. It's going to be tough. They can hit their way out of there. The one thing that has to happen is they've got to get those first two batters. Skylar Wallace and Kendra Falby have to get on base, and Charlotte Eccles has to be able to hit the daggum softball and drive in runs. Those first four batters for Florida have to come up big. And they, for some reason, those pitchers have to come up with whatever they need to do. And I don't know what's been the problem this year, but let's face it, we've had a lot of people walk, and you can't get free passes. If they can throw strikes, Florida can win the ball game.
I agree. Franz, great stuff as always. We appreciate your time, my man, and we will talk to you soon.
Thank you, Shane. I always appreciate you, and I love listening to this show. It's the best going.
Thank you, Franz. That's the Iron Duke Franz Beard from Gatorbait. Join us on the Titan Lamar hotline at Chris Doring Mortgage. They do mortgage lending right, helping home buyers throughout Gainesville and North Central Florida. Call Chris Doring Mortgage today at 352-244-0840. Hope everybody has a great day. We will see you tomorrow. Take care.